Representative Hewitt, we're not going to move your bill at this time because we don't have a quorum, but we're going to take testimony and so forth. So Representative Hewitt, welcome to the committee. If you would like to present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I'm happy to be back in front of the Tax Committee again, and today I bring a real important issue to you from across the state. I've been involved in EMS and fire for over 30 years, and this has always been a problem for us, recruitment and retention. And this is one tool that we're kind of looking at experimenting with. As you know, the legislators have tried to do things in the past, from work groups to committees to incentivize. Well, this is one area that we haven't dove into yet. So we were, with the individuals in the fire the associations and the ambulance association, and we got together and said, well, let's try to see what a tax credit would do. It does have a hefty fiscal note, but what you have to remember is these are the volunteers that leave in the middle of the night, work 3 hours on a fire, and then go to work the next morning. Or the EMTs that do the similar job where they end up having to answer the call at Christmas morning and take a transport down to the cities, and they miss their whole Christmas day with their family. So these people give up a lot for this, and when you look at the fiscal note, yeah, it's high, but they give up a lot for us too. So today I have two testifiers with me. I'm first going to have you hear from Chief Still of Inver Grove Heights to express some of her concerns with recruitment and retention.
Good morning. Very good. Thank you. Welcome to the committee. If you'd please state your name and please begin.
Judy Thill.
Dill?
Thill, T-H-I-L-L.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for having me this morning. I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota State Fire Department Association and Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association. Personally, I'd like to thank Representative Hewitt for his work on this tax credit. Recruitment and retention has been a huge problem for many, many years, not just here in Minnesota, but nationwide. In fact, many of you may not know, 92% of our firefighters in Minnesota are volunteers. We have the second highest percentage of volunteers in the nation. Recruitment and retention, as I said, has been in a critical stage, and it's only getting worse as training increases and calls increase. While it used to be 20 years or more that volunteer firefighters would stay on a fire department, now the average is about 5 years, and the first 1 year or 2 years is solely on training. So we're trying to not only attract firefighters, we're also trying to retain them. So we'd like to offer support today for this tax credit for volunteer firefighters and EMT, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And before we go any further, we do now have a quorum. So we're going to do a few things and then get this bill in proper order. So members, we do have the minutes from Thursday, March 14th, 2019. Representative Leslie Gard moves to approve those minutes. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion on approval of the March 14th minutes, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion does prevail. The March 14th minutes are approved. Also, members, in your packets, you'll see that as of Friday, March 15th, there were 8 bills that were referred to the Property and Local Tax Division. With that, Representative Brand moves House File 1993 for possible inclusion into the omnibus tax bill. All right, got everything set. So Representative Hewitt, looks like you have another witness.
I do, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to introduce to you, well, this man needs no introduction in front of you, Mr. McAlpin from the Ambulance Association.
Very good.
Mr. Chair, members, Buck McAlpin representing the Minnesota Ambulance Association. The Ambulance Association's worked quite a long time. We've had called a Rural EMS Sustainability Work Group and work closely with our friends in the fire service. Most importantly, because the fire service is our first responder network, and many of the fire service has ambulance operations across the state. In 1993, the Department of Health released a report called The Quiet Crisis in Minnesota, very thick document about the decline of access to emergency medical services throughout the state. As Ms. Thill testified to, About 62% of our 300 ambulance services in Minnesota and 28,000 EMTs and paramedics are still volunteer. And again, today, and I've said it in other committees this year, there's parts across the state that we're not sure if the ambulance and or your rural first responder would show up if you called 911, and we're trying to work on ways to make sure that doesn't happen. I think the industries have gotten a lot better about discussing consolidation, how they work better with their neighbors. You've seen bills in front of this committee, Mr. Chair and members, around taxing districts, what's happening up in Cloquet. The fire chiefs have been down here about the fire-based taxing district, just different ideas of how we consolidate and look at operations differently. But still, there's just this large aspect of volunteers out there and what they do every year. And then 2 years ago, the Department of Health with the Ambulance Association completed another large statewide survey funded with the Office of Rural Health and Primary Care that said since '93 it's only gotten worse around the volunteer area. So we do see large companies like Alina or North Memorial or Health East or Mayo Medical Transportation really starting to absorb a lot of the statewide EMS systems and trying to cover larger areas, but there just is such a large geographic population. I'm looking at Representative Fabian, especially up in northwest and southwest and northeast Minnesota, that really rely on volunteer ambulance operations to do their work. And to Representative Hewitt's comments, the mental health crisis, we have ambulance services going from Cloquet to Fargo daily, just trying to find beds for people. And lots of that work's being done by volunteer ambulance people leaving their jobs every day. So when he brought this idea up again, and I believe Representative Davids has also had this idea in the past that we've tossed this same tax credit around, this is one of the issues that comes up during our surveys. Access to health care comes up for our volunteers in rural Minnesota. We did some work with the Minnesota Care Tax a few years ago. But the Ambulance Association's Rural Sustainability Group meets monthly, a very large group across the state, of how we try to address the issue to be sure the ambulance or first responder squad leaves the garage. So we appreciate your support, looking for what we just call another tool in the toolbox to try to make sure we can keep the ambulance leaving the garage.
Thank you. Chair David.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and maybe for Mr. McAlpin, I think it was the Chair Lancheski, Chair Skoye's tax bill of 14. I was on the conference committee, if I remember correctly, where we did something like this in a test area. Maybe I think like 13 counties, and then there's something about Freeborn County came in or whatever. Yeah. Is that similar to what we're doing here? Is this a different way to do it? Because we put it out there as a test, and has there been any information coming back saying did it help in those areas?
Mr. McAlpin.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Davids, yes, that was in, I believe, 13 counties, and it was a tax credit to those areas, and I believe it's sunsetted now, but that did work very well.
It did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had some questions, Mr. McAlpin. So what were the results there? Are there some quantifiable results? Did it help retain volunteers? Did it help attract volunteers? Because it is sunset now. So what were the results?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's a good idea. We should dig that up for further discussions. But folks just said it was when we talked to the fire chiefs, it was a great tool, and for our ambulance volunteers to use it to try to keep some folks in retention over what they did. And because it was a pilot, it was also very hard to launch it too, as we worked through public safety and the fire marshal's office about how we did that. But I believe at that time, Mr. Chair, excuse me, a large fiscal note also came in, which we negotiated it down to a pilot project to make it work.
Very good. I do know that is a huge concern around the state. In my areas, I've had meetings trying to attract folks, and you know, they're volunteers, so certainly they're not in it for the money. So what do you see, any of the testifiers here, is probably the biggest reasons why we're seeing a decline? Is it just, I mean, is it Bill?
There are actually several reasons. First, we have both people in the household working. It used to be that the wife would stay home and take care of the children, and the husband would be able to work and join the fire department. Now, with both parties working and also females joining the fire service, it becomes a little more complicated there. There's also an increase in training requirements. I have volunteers on my department, and they go through the exact same training as a full-time firefighter. Why? Because it's a very dangerous job. And so I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't require that kind of training, because I don't want to see them get hurt or killed, obviously. So they go through the same amount of training. It is a lot of training. Right from the start, you're looking at 100, 150 hours just for basic firefighting. And then there's all kinds of EMS 40. If they're EMT, what is it, 120, 140 hours on top of that. And this is in their spare time. They do this work in their spare time, and that's what really makes it hard for people. And on top of everything else, there has been mission creep with fire departments, because they are starting to do a lot more EMS response, basic first response, and they're being called out more often, where they might have only gone to 150 calls or 200 calls. Now they're going to 400 or 500 calls. And that is a huge imposition on their family life in their spare time.
Very good. Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to thank Representative Hewitt and thank you for bringing this forward. I think obviously the recruitment and retention piece is important, but I think even if we aren't able to prove one way or another whether it helps with that, I think, when I think of what we ask of firefighters and EMTs, it's exposure to lifelong trauma and cancer risks. It's a really dangerous job, and it really, I can see how a family member might not want somebody to volunteer to do that just because of the risks that they're putting themselves out there for. So I think, it's a non-refundable credit. And I think a recognition of the folks who are willing to put their lives on the line to make sure the rest of us can be safe. I think that that's a worthy endeavor, regardless of whether there's a direct impact on recruitment, because that tells me the people that are still doing it are the people whose hearts are really in it and are really committed to making sure they're taking care of their communities. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Representative Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had a question about the experiment. Was that also 500 per person and 1,000 per couple if they both happen to be?
Mr. McKelvin.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Representative Carlson, I don't remember the exact details of the amount.
Okay, I was
Representative Carlson.
I was just interested in kind of comparing what was before us in the bill with that experiment that took place. Just a comment, and I'm kind of picking up on the chief's point about more difficult to get volunteers. I was at a meeting a while back on the education side, and they were talking about the difficulty today, getting volunteers. They used to be able to get a number of parents, I think generally, sometimes it might be grandparents or others that would be willing to come into the schools to volunteer in a variety of ways, both during the school day or after school activities. And their point was that it's getting more and more difficult. And I think we're seeing that then here with your testimony that volunteerism is down, but my only point is that apparently it's down generally from what I hear. Thank you.
Representative Swazinski.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of a thought, the testifier spoke a little bit to just why we're having such an issue. And one of the issues that I've heard is also just from an employer standpoint that, if you're self-employed or have your own business, it's a little easier for you to just pick up and go. But if you work for somebody else and they're depending on you being there, getting that permission to kind of make that step. And I maybe just had a general question to staff potentially. Is there any tax credits out there for employers to try to encourage them to allow, their employees to participate in these? Because sometimes that can be a pretty decent barrier where, they could maybe, I've heard of some employers actually, especially electricians or within the trades, that they'll pay their employee, they're clocked in for the day. If they get called, they don't have to clock out. They continue to pay them throughout the day. So some of these employers are really making a big effort and kind of helping things out. But just was, thinking, maybe there's something that we could do to kind of encourage from an employer standpoint to encourage that, because if they're an employee, that would, just an idea.
Mr. Chair?
I know I put you on the spot there, folks, but.
Let's start with Mr. Williams. And then go to
Mr. Chair,
Representative.
Budzinski, I don't think there's any existing tax credit or program that sort of matches the description you just gave.
Representative Hewitt, did you?
And Mr. Chair, to answer the representative's question, we did look at this actually in this bill because we thought maybe that was an answer. We looked at different things that actually, in some of our towns, actually, a few of the schools, and I forgot which ones they were, but let the seniors actually respond to medicals during the day. We don't want to set that in place, but they're going down and using 18-year-old students to do some of the work too. I know a couple of our colleges in towns, in Morris actually, they use their students to come and respond. They call them out of class. As far as businesses go, there are, I looked around this country to look at this option too, and there are different states that actually do give business credits to do that. I don't know how successful that has been. The thing I like about this particular thing is a lot of times when we do that, it doesn't get down to the individual, and that's what this basically would do, is get to the individual.
So also, Mr. Jessen was doing some research here, in the bill that Chair Davids was referring to passed in 2014. It was in effect for 15, 16, and 17, and that was a $500 stipend for firefighters and EMTs and volunteer ambulance. So it's very close to what this is, which is $500 per person or $1,000 credit per if both spouses would be involved. So Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Mr. McAlpin mentioned Northwest Minnesota, and not that it's important, but I spent my 5 years doing the EMT thing up there too, many, many years ago. I have a question on the bill, but also just one comment. We have this incredible manufacturer in my hometown that makes Polaris, I can't say their name, can I? Darn. Make ATVs and snowmobiles, and when the fire whistle blows, there are several pickup trucks that leave the parking lot and go to respond to the fire. I don't know that they do that for the EMTs because the EMTs are on site now, but and this is to Representative Swedzinski's point, there are some really awesome manufacturers, there's business owners and stuff in our small communities, and you're familiar with them too, Mr. Chair, I know, who would just say, go. It's a public service, and they're happy to be a part of it. So I just think that they deserve some recognition for the contribution that they're making to a situation like this. But my question on the bill is in subdivision 2, line 1.20 and 0.21, and then the second page. I'm not clear why that's there, because it's requiring that if they don't qualify, they can apply for they can claim the credit, but if something doesn't happen, then they have to file an amended return. And to me, that seems kind of clumsy. Who's going to be responsible for that? And if they don't, then what happens? Who enforces it?
Representative Hewitt.
Mr. Chair, Representative, there was what we found out actually when we were researching this, and this was a concern of the auditor also, there are some fire services that don't participate in a service credit, which surprised me because that's part of the 2% pension fund that we put aside for them. And so that's what this kind of goes into, to make sure that they can qualify too. So we were a little concerned about that, so we wanted to make sure that everybody that had some way of getting to this credit. It still will probably need some sort of amendment because we're still looking at that, how that'll work, but thank you for pointing that out.
Representative Fabian.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just thought, and who would be, I mean, would the Department of Revenue be monitoring this, or, because how do we make sure it gets straight
So
in the end?
Representative Hewitt.
Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, it's a mixture because there are multiple agencies within the state that have to look at the service credits. Some is done by the Department of Public Safety, others would be done by the MSRB, and then would report to would have to report to the Department of Revenue. We're trying to look at a simplified system also that would be the service director actually filling out that the member made the required service time, and that would be filed with the Department of Revenue. So we're still looking at the process that would take place, because again, we haven't had this. And it'd be interesting to go back to what we did before to see how they actually enforce that.
Yeah. Very good. Anyone else from the audience that'd like to testify for or against House File 1993? Seeing none. Anyone else from the committee? I remember being at midnight Christmas Mass and the pagers going off at St. Elizabeth and Dilworth, and several firefighters leaving. So it is a 24-hour, everyday job. So, Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the chief, realizing that, as Representative Carlson noted that volunteerism is kind of a dying service. But what is happening within your service area, particularly for fighting fires, that might be cutting edge research? You know, are you moving toward robotics? I mean, there must be something going on, because the industry must realize that things are changing. So do you know of anything that's cutting edge whereby we won't need as many going to a fire as in the past or present, because we've moved into the robotics area or something other than having an actual person on site?
I am
Bill?
aware. Oh. I am aware of some robotics testing that's gone on over in Europe. I don't know that there's really much of anything like that here in the United States. Typically, you go over to Europe, and that's where a lot of these cutting-edge ideas start. There's different types of firefighting foam. There's different ways of fighting fires. But there really isn't a smoking gun or a real cutting edge idea that's just going to start cutting firefighters away. As was mentioned earlier, trying with consolidation, trying to utilize each other's resources and things like that, so we don't need as many. And there's different, besides mergers, there's things called closest unit. So if there's a station or a fire truck, say from Apple Valley, that's near an incident in Lakeville, they are paged out. And so we're using technology that way for closest unit responding. But I wish I had more to offer you on that, but I'm not really aware of much of anything, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Hewitt, any closing comments here on House File 1993?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee, for hearing this. I know that this is a large ask, and that this is just a start to probably this discussion. And I want it also to be known that this wasn't brought to me by a volunteer. This wasn't brought to me by a service. This was brought to me as an idea I had last summer when, as an EMT, and we're driving a pond, we see accidents, and we don't pass them, we stop. I stopped at an accident up in northern Minnesota last year, and lo and behold, I had to do some first aid and care for the person until the ambulance arrived. It took 30 minutes for that ambulance to arrive. I knew the chief of the service. I talked to him for a little bit, and he said, "Thank God you were there, because we had a trouble getting the truck out of the garage." That's what this is about. This isn't about them asking for this. They don't even, when I ask them, they don't care. They'll do this regardless who's there. But it's just something. It's something that we got to start looking at. And again, thanks, committee, for hearing it. Thanks for the discussion.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks to the testifiers for being here also. So Representative Brand renews his motion to lay over House File 1993 for possible inclusion into the tax omnibus bill. Thank you so much, Representative Hewitt.